wasn't really my intention to revisit No Man's Sky, having completed the game, although I had considered making a video on the finding of the fauna on an ocean planet. It was only a passing thought, but when I saw that we'd had update 109 come along, I thought it only best to just check and make sure that nothing had changed that would alter the validity of my original video. One thing that I did notice, that whether or not it is connected to update 109, but the scanner seems to be a little reluctant sometimes to register flora, and I found that I would sometimes have to change the scan distance before it would actually register, or even change the angle of the object that I was scanning. I continued to run it through, and everything on the original video still holds good, but I decided it would be a good idea to do an ocean planet anyway, just to give some idea of what's involved. The ocean planets do tend to be the hardest because of the amount of underwater scanning that's involved. This planet took around about 50 minutes all told, from start to finish. I've edited it as much as I dare, but in order to get the majority of the planet in here and the procedure that I followed, I've had to double speed almost all the clips all the way through so that it will fit. I know they're saying that No Man's Sky is a kind of a work in progress, but I don't know. I can't see that they're ever going to do anything particularly substantial with it to change it, and if they do, by the time they do, I'll probably find that most people have got fed up with it anyway. I mean, it is still quite nice to wander around the planets, but for the most part, certainly as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be consigned to the shelf, which is a shame, because I think it could have been so much more than it is, with just a addition of a few extra features. But there you go. I mean, the overall feel of the game is quite good, but you know, I have problems with I mean, even the robot voice. Why a robot voice? You know, you've got the T-Boy with a 799 voice changer. You know, 10 years ago my sat-nav had a much better voice than they've chosen to use on here. Why they've decided to go for a robot-like voice in a science fiction futuristic game, I really don't know, and it isn't even particularly clear. I mean, I can't help but laugh every time the robot says, you know, Unix received. Unix, I don't know where. I've not scanned any Unix at all. But there you go. Maybe that's just me. Obviously you can see that I'm flying through the planet here. One of the main points of this video is to see just how extensive the scanning can need to be. I believe in total I had to extend 5 hops from landing to find everything and scan it all easily. Please do bear in mind what I've already said about scan distances and angles. If you think something should scan, try changing your position, try changing the distance that you're pulling in or dropping out from with your scanner. I've had 2 or 3 instances where at a close distance, to all intents and purposes, what I'm trying to scan has no life to it at all. But then I've either changed the distance of the scan or changed my position, and it will suddenly recognise it. Obviously the danger therein is that you'll try and scan something but consider it unworthy of scanning because it doesn't register. So that really is something that you have to watch out for. With these ocean planets, I try and give myself the best of all worlds by landing somewhere near a coastline. So that will enable me to run around on the land, scanning the flora, and easily get into the water and scan the underwater plant life. The correlation between underwater and on land zoology isn't direct, so that basically that means you can scan underwater plant life and that will bring around a sudden appearance of on land zoology, and vice versa. Scanning on land zoology can suddenly bring about in water animal life to appear, and obviously either or can bring about anything up in the skies. So you have to continually check on land and back in the water. Fortunately, scanning the water is very easy, and the red dots from underwater animal life will show up at a pretty fair distance, and obviously they can be scanned. You can actually scan, you'll probably see a little bit later on in this video, you can actually just get away with scanning the red dot even though you can't actually see the animal itself. As I've said in the previous video, one of the greatest important things to bear in mind is the need to constantly scan everything, even flora that looks identical to stuff you may have already scanned. Just continually keep checking on it, because you'll find 2 or 3 species will look identical to all intents and purposes, but when you scan it, it will come up with a different name for it, and bodies of water. There's no guarantee that you're going to find easily every bit of plant life underwater. So make sure that you don't restrict yourself just to one body of water. I tend to land, as I say, near a coastline, but also try and pick accessibility to at least 2 areas of water that I can scan. I suppose it's possible, and I mean I have in the past got in and actually travelled a fair amount of distance underwater, so the chances are you possibly would find everything, but you'd spend a lot of time underwater. So I find it far easier just to dive into an area and then dive into another area, and continue like that. And again, you'll see as this video progresses just how different the layout underwater can be in different bodies. One other thing that I have noticed is that sometimes there is a delay between actually scanning a life form and it registering. There's a very interesting one coming up here. Nothing. Never seen that before. I've just scanned that and it's nothing. And here it actually comes. There it comes up the name afterwards. But I've never seen nothing before. So there we are, chaps. That's what nothing looks like. Another good thing to do if you can is when you find a large body of water, if you can, plonk yourself right in the middle of it, so that you've got water on all sides. That'll give you a pretty good vista, and a good opportunity to get into the water and scan the underwater plant life. I mean, a lot of the time, if you're close to it, you'd actually have to get into the water. You can actually scan it as this shows here. You can scan it through the water quite easily, as long as it's not too far away. And there we go. There's an underwater life form appeared in the distance, and you see here, a long way away. Still scan it, no problem at all. Scanned and identified. Yet more underwater plant life revealing itself. I think skinny dipping may be out of the question here. I got a couple of ocean planets done while I was working through the journey milestones, and they were an absolute pain until I actually cottoned on to the way of getting them done. So I'm glad that I've done this, because it does help to demonstrate that they are doable. They just tend to be, I don't know, I think they're harder than the non-water body planets. But again, you know, quite fun. Again, I will say, I hope this has been of use. You can see that they are doable. There's no need to give up on if you end up on an ocean planet. Just plug away at it. So this one took round about 45-50 minutes in actual fact to find them all, but you can see what was involved. Again, hopefully see you chaps in the future.